Some of you may have heard about the hype at one time concerning the blood moons in relations to Jesus' second coming, but the dates came and went as if nothing had ever happened. But this was far from the truth. Did you know that the blood moon prophecy had already came to pass on 15th May, 2022? I had first posted a short video on the 17th of December, 2024 on my YouTube channel, but without any audible explanations.
Blow the trumpet at the time of the new moon, at the full moon, on our solemn feast day. For this is a statute for Israel, a law of the God of Jacob. This he established in Joseph as a testimony, when he went throughout the land of Egypt, where I heard a language I did not understand. Psalms chapter 81, verse 3-5. New King James Version.
Now, let's look at how the conditions for the blood moon prophecy were fulfilled. Perhaps no one even knew that the blood moon prophecy was to be found in the book of Psalms. But here it was, written in Psalms chapter 81, verse 3-5. In total, there were 5 conditions that were met in spectacular fashion. However, this video will discuss only 4 conditions. The first condition must be, of course, the blood moon itself. And the prophecy had specifically mentioned at the time of the new moon, referring to the first, instead of the second blood moon. If we look up the blood moons of 2022 online, we will be given 2 dates. The first occurred on May 15 to 16, and the second occurred on November 8. Now, if we add the days and month together as separate individual numbers, we get 1 plus 5 plus 5 equals 11 for Joseph, the 11th son of Jacob, whose name was also mentioned in the prophecy. If we then add the days together and month as whole numbers, we get the sum of 20. The second blood moon of 2022 happened on 8th of November. If we add 8 plus 11, we get the sum of 19. Now, combining the answer from the earlier sum, we get 2019, which was the year. Pastor Joseph Prince had announced the theme for that year, the year of the latter rain, revealing himself as the man of sin, the son of perdition. And in that same year, on 20th November, Pastor Joseph Prince and his church announced the purchase of the remaining shares of Star Vista Mall, bringing several Bible prophecies to pass. And exactly 40 days later, another prophecy from the book of Jonah was fulfilled, giving birth to COVID-19 on 30th December, while opening the first seal of Revelation chapter 6, verse 1 and 2. So if we add the day and month as separate individual numbers, we get 8 plus 1 for the sum of 10, which represents the law. Was it another coincidence that the word law was also mentioned in the same psalmist prophecy for the blood moon? The law was exactly what Pastor Joseph Prince had been opposing since the beginning of his unmerited favor ministry by preaching superabounding grace. In this video, I will explain explicitly to all the die-hard fans of Pastor Joseph Prince why embracing grace and opposing the law is one of the worst decisions one could ever make in the hope of entering heaven. Please note, I am not stating any opinions here. You may think that everyone is entitled to having their own opinions. Agree to disagree, as some would always say in rebuttals whenever they cannot see eye to eye over an argument. But this is not my business to state my opinions here. My responsibility here is to show the audience some scriptures that were written before and after Paul had written any letters to the Romans. We get the famous chapter 6, verse 14, false doctrine. Let's read that verse together.
For sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under law but under grace. Romans chapter 6, verse 14, New King James Version.
Before we read what the psalmist had to say against Paul, it is worthy of note for me to point out to you that the word testimony had also appeared in the blood moon prophecy is now mentioned in the following psalms we are about to read.
I am your servant. Give me understanding, that I may know your testimonies. It is time for you to act, O Lord, for they have regarded your law as void. Therefore I love your commandments more than gold, yes, than fine gold. Therefore all your precepts concerning all things I consider to be right. I hate every false way. Psalms chapter 119. verse 125 to 128. New King James Version.
Ladies and gentlemen, did we just hear that correctly? The psalmist was crying out to God and pleading him to take action by saying, "It is time for you to act. For they have regarded your law as void." There are also several other scriptures I can show you why. What Paul had written were false doctrines meant to deceive many into the lake of fire. But I will do that in another video. Now, this is my own opinion that I'm stating, and that is, the revelation we had just gotten from reading the above Psalms was a jaw-dropping experience. Wait, you don't have to agree with me on this one. You can always agree to disagree. But because Jesus had already prophesied against Paul in Matthew chapter 7, verse 15, by pointing him out as the ravenous wolf from the tribe of Benjamin was literally hiding in sheep's clothing. Benjamin's mother, Rachel, whom Pastor Joseph Prince had been preaching for several years with his infamous Benjamin Generation series, is the mother of grace, but her name actually means a female sheep to fulfill Jesus' prophecies against Paul and Pastor Joseph Prince. Now, the second condition for the blood moon prophecy was a Jewish feast day must also take place on that day. The second Passover, known in Judaism as Pesach Sheni, Hebrew for second Passover, fell on May 15, 2022, concluding at sundown. It occurs exactly 1 month after the Passover on the 14th of Iyar. The scriptures for that solemn feast day was mentioned in the book of Numbers chapter 9, verse 6 to 14, which I found it very interesting and very coincidental, because we had just discussed why Romans chapter 6, verse 14 was a false doctrine. The third condition for the blood moon prophecy was none other than Joseph. On this very same day, Pastor Joseph Prince of New Creation Church of Singapore had celebrated his 59th birthday. If you had already watched any videos I had already did so far, would know by now that he is the Antichrist, the 666, the man of sin, the son of perdition. The fourth condition mentioned in the book of Psalms 81, verse 3 to 5 was a language I did not understand. As it turns out, if we look up Wikipedia on Pastor Joseph Prince, we will get the following results. Pastor Joseph Prince's father belonged to the Indian ethnic group, specifically tracing his heritage to the Sikh community. His father served as a Sikh priest, while his mother was of Chinese descent. This information concerning Pastor Joseph Prince's family heritage seemed insignificant, but if only you also knew what entailed in discovering the identities of the many kings mentioned by John in the book Revelation, chapter 17, verse 10 to 11. You will not only find this information interesting, but also a reaction of, that's why it must happen in this way. For many who do not already know, but his wife, Wendy Prince, was also of Chinese descent. The fifth condition that was fulfilled, but not explicitly mentioned within the prophecy itself, was another national holiday of Singapore had fallen on that same day. As mentioned earlier, I will not discuss any more about the fifth condition. But with all the 4 conditions discussed and revealed for the blood moon were met with spectacular accuracies, we can therefore establish one important thing, which was given at the beginning of the psalmist's prophecy, and that is, blow the trumpet, because the warning of the coming dreadful day of the Lord had been given since the fulfillments of these prophecies.
He heard the sound of the trumpet, but did not take warning. His blood shall be upon himself. But he who takes warning will save his life. Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 5. New King James Version.
Please follow this channel for more Bible prophecies explained.